Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Film Sci. Today we'll be covering the top 5 expensive items the Pawn Stars actually bought. Let's get into the video. $250,000 from Maurice Sendak Sketches. Now to get down to the deals that actually happened, in the same season as the George Washington find, Rick came across something he couldn't help but have. A collector offered him the original sketches that became Maurice Sendak's children's book classic, Where the Wild Things Are. Rick was clearly awed by the drawings when he saw them in person. It was the greatest book ever written, Rick told the dealer. When I was a kid, I was fascinated by the pictures. It was so different from any other children's book. Because Sendak never sold prints of his work for Where the Wild Things Are, the sketches were one of a kind. After consulting with an art expert who told him he could expect to net $310,000 for the sketches, Rick talked to the owner and sold him the lot for $250,000. But this is still the most expensive item ever purchased in Pawn Stars history.
They're just incredible. I mean, I love these.
Where the Wild Things Are. It was one of Maurice Sendak's earliest books, written and actually illustrated as well. These are all original illustrations. Everything is one of a kind. I mean, that's not the worst of life, right?
And suddenly his room turned into a jungle, and there was the ocean, and he comes to the island where all the wild things are.
$111,000 for 3,000 ounces of silver. The second largest purchase in Pawn Stars history was a lot easier for the shop to verify the value of. When a customer rolled into the shop with a dolly loaded with 3,000 ounces of silvers in coinage, the Harrisons knew they had a deal on their hands. Because of the significant amount of money changing hands, Rick drilled into the center of the bar to determine that they were purely made of the precious metal. Testing silver is a little work, but it's not rocket science, Rick said, before explaining how to test silver with nitric acid. If the silver he extracted for testing turned a milky white color when exposed to the acid, it was pure. After verifying that it was real, he purchased it for roughly a market rate cost of $111,000. $95,000 for a 1932 Lincoln Roadster. The Harrisons had to spend big deal to luxury Lincoln Roadster, built in the middle of the Great Depression. A beautifully maintained mint cream colored roadster with massive V12 engine hiding under a gigantic hood was too good to leave the shop. The 1932 Roadster was an attempt by Lincoln's parent company, Ford, to lure drivers away from their competitors at Cadillac. It was priced to move at $4,000 in 1932, roughly $70,000 in today's money. Rick and the old man went above and beyond that price point to make sure that they walked away from the deal with the car. For the decadent 150 horsepower classic car from 1932, they offered a cash buy of nearly $200,000. They didn't have to wait long to get their money back, however. The owner turned right around and used the $95,000 he made in the deal to buy gold from the pawn shop. Cars that rolled away. That's not to say you can wow the Pawn Stars with any old car. They have to have let the many sellers walk in their 15 seasons on the air, when the price was just a bit too rich for their blood. Frequently, the stalemates came when the car was famous rather than just an antique. The Harrisons had to make a tough decision when perhaps the most famous car in American history fell into their laps. O.J. Simpson's white Ford Bronco had been seen by millions of Americans, with the former NFL star leading Los Angeles police on the world's most well-known low-speed chase ahead of his eventual acquittal on murder charges. The current owner of the iconic Bronco brought it to the stars of the show looking to sell. Given the infamy of his particular Bronco, the seller wanted a hefty sum. He asked for $1.25 million from the Harrisons, about $1 for every 100 Americans who watched O.J. run. Ultimately, Rick had to turn him down and send him off to find another buyer interested in macabre history. $90,000 from Mary Ford's 1961 Gibson SG Les Paul guitar. Gibson's Les Paul signature guitars can cost a pretty penny as is, but when the well-crafted guitars are connected with the legendary songwriter whose name is on the instrument, they're worth quite a bit more. That explains why the Harrisons felt they should shell out $90,000 for a 1961 Les Paul guitar that belonged to Paul's wife Mary. All pawn shops trading guitars at some point, but the show's outsized stature as a purchaser of rare antiques made it a fitting stop for the owner of this particular instrument. For the uninitiated, Les Paul and Mary Ford were a wildly successful singing duo in the 1950s with 28 hit records to their name. They hosted popular radio and television variety shows together throughout the decade. That Mary herself had played this guitar on track with the #1 hit, How High the Moon, made its value skyrocket. They paid $90,000 for the chance to own a piece of musical history so closely tied to the godfather of rock and roll guitars. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like on the video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.